everybody. My name's Craig.
I'm Brian.
I'm Burke.
And I'm Michelle.
And this is Get Dunked On, the podcast.
The podcast.
Dun, dun, dun.
That was a lot of extra money into the budget for that echo sound effect.
That was
Oh my
beautiful.
gosh. We had to pay so much to get that reverb to really echo through this whole thing and sound professional.
Yes.
It was crazy amount of effort to do that.
Well, talking about spending a lot of money on things, I spent a lot of money. Went to a baseball game earlier today. That was
And
a
you
lot of
bought
fun.
nosebleed seats, and they were $5.
No.
Yep. That's how
I mean,
you are.
They
I
weren't
know.
they weren't nosebleed seats, but they were very good. They were very good. Let's put it that way.
No, they were like 15, 20 rows from the
Oh,
field.
nice.
Yeah, it was really
They were
nice.
good. They were nice seats.
I'm impressed.
So
Foul ball country.
it was.
Oh,
Every time a
and
left-handed batter got up there, I was like, oh crap.
Before you get going on this, yay baseball. Okay, go ahead.
So I spent a lot of money and and talking about letdowns. I went to the game. That was a ton of fun. That was not the letdown. The letdown was that I was a little nervous the entire second inning on, because the guy next to me was basically getting ready to fight someone, and I was like, not me, anybody but me. He was.
Now, hold on. He was. What do you mean he was just getting ready to fight someone? Like, what was his deal?
I don't know. That's the thing that got me about it, was that I was sitting there, and this guy was about kind of on a diagonal. So imagine like a one row in front, but like a one section over. And he just is kind of sitting there, and then he kind of turns and yells, but you can't see like who he's yelling at. He's not like yelling at someone. He's just like yelling, and he's like, oh yeah, fucking right. And I'm like, this is getting a little sketchy. And I'm like, okay, fine, maybe he's just crazy or whatever. And he's like, no, you know what, man, fuck you. And I'm like, oh god, he's gonna start swinging. Like,
And this is in the second inning.
yes, the start of the second inning. He wasn't even he was a bunch of drinks. Maybe he was, maybe pre-gamed or
Why?
something. But
was he a Tigers fan?
you know what? He was wearing generic,
Go sports team.
No, generic dad clothes.exe. You know what I mean? It was like he had no defining features about him that I was like, oh man, this guy's a whatever. He just was in that kind of mood.
And just to have everybody know, the second inning, obviously, as you might be able to pick up, the first inning's the first part of the game. Second inning is usually it's about 10, 20 minutes into the game. Like at max, it's usually around there. About 10, 20 minutes into the game. So it's with a 7 o'clock start. That's like 7:20. This guy's already getting belligerent.
Yeah. So the point is that I was sitting there sweating bullets the rest of the game, kind of looking over at this guy like, any minute this powdered keg could go off and I'm going to get caught in the middle of a fight. And it just got me thinking about all the times when I've been either in a fight or been unfortunately next to / inadvertently part of a fight. And I didn't know if that has ever happened to you guys.
I have one where it's an embarrassing story for me now. Well, it was embarrassing kind of then. I'm over it now because I just whatever. It's not that big of a deal, but it's still sort of. You look back and you go, I wish I would have done things a little differently. I was at a bar with one of my buddies, and he's one of my longtime friends that I grew up with from early age. Our dads were best friends in high school, so it's just been one of those things where we've always been around each other. Mm-hmm. And I hadn't hung out with him in a couple years. I went down to Tennessee to go to school, and I lived in Michigan. I went to Tennessee to go to school for a while. We kind of separated there, and when I came back, he was still 45 minutes to an hour away at school, and we just never really fully got our friendship back going. We're still friends, but it's kind of like that acquaintance because we used to be friends. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where we were at, and he was a bouncer at a bar. And so I went down to this bar to go hang out with him. He wasn't working, so I was just hanging out with him, and it's him and a bunch of his buddies. And one of his other friends, was a young hotshot in business type thing. Like he had made a bunch of money recently, really upgraded his pay grade, and was just buying bottles for us in the bar. He's like, let's get a whole bottle of, Goldschlager. And he would just, instead of getting a drink for us, he would buy the bottle over to us. And that was the whole night. So we were trashed, absolutely trashed. And this one guy that he played, because my buddy played on the basketball team for his college team, and he was his teammate at the time, and he's sitting there and he just starts getting very upset with everybody, and he starts taking everything. He was a black guy, and he started taking everything into like everything was racist that we said. And all of us were like, "What's happening?" Or at least I was doing that. Everybody else, I think, had maybe they had dealt with it before. It sounded like to the point where at the very end of it, and I'm just like, "Hey, man, how's it going? How you feeling?" And he's just sitting there staring at me and looking at me, and just I can't tell if he has any intent behind his eyes. It's like glossed over, gone. And then my buddy Mike goes, "Craig, can you come over here for a second?" I walked over there. He goes, "You might need to go on the other side of the bar. He says he wants to punch you in the face." And this guy is huge. He's like 6'8".
Oh no!
Like 250 pounds of just pure muscle. He's he's just huge. And I'm like, what did I do? I'm a 5'8" fat kid at this bar. I'm like, what? How do I pose a threat right now? And
maybe that's why.
That's the only like close story that I've ever had with it. But the thing that made me feel really embarrassed at the end of it was, I am absolutely bombed out of my mind. And so it's just me and my buddy afterwards. They ended up having to kick him out of the bar. Like the bouncers had to come in there, grab him, and throw him out of the bar because he was getting that belligerent.
Wow.
And my buddy was like, "Dude, you were about to get your ass kicked." I was like, "What was I doing?" He goes, "You weren't doing anything." That's the thing. He goes, "He just gets this way."
He
sometimes.
just picked you because, and that's what I was saying. Maybe he picked you because he's like, like you said, you're 5'8" or whatever. He's like, "Yeah, I could take this guy. Trying to take him down just because I can." Like,
and he goes, "He just gets that way." I was like, "Well, I've been in a couple fights. I'd know how to hold my own." He goes, "Not against him." He goes, "When have you been in a fight?" I was like, "Well, like in school and stuff, I got fights. I've never been in a fight in my life. I have no idea why I felt the need to like say that I had."
You had to lie, dude. I
was like, I would have been fine. I mean, we would have come out even at the end of it. Looking at it now, we would not have come out even. He would hit me once, I would have fallen over, and that would have been the end of it.
If by even you mean maybe he hurt his knuckles on your jaw, like it
would have been one of those. It would have been one of those victories at the very end of it. I'm like, well, yeah, I got him kicked out of the bar because I took the hit from him. So who's the winner now, huh? I'm just looking for ways of doing victory. That's basically what it was.
And you're saying that when you wake up 3 weeks later in your hospital bed, you're like, "Oh man, I took him down a peg."
But that's the only closest thing, and there was like no aggression anywhere behind the whole thing from my point of view. And I almost got my ass kicked.
Michelle, what about you yourself?
So the distinction in your question about like being caught in a fight nearby, it doesn't really. All my fights were intentional, so I don't really have that situation.
Okay. I'm laughing.
You're such an instigator,
I'm laughing
Michelle.
because I'm picturing her like me right now.
Let's go,
she's the one that walks into a bar and points and goes, "You fucker, you're mine."
She does the hockey thing and pulls the jersey or the shirt over the person's head. She's like, "You're going down."
She purposely goes into bars with gloves on so she can literally drop the gloves.
Yeah, it's not quite like that, but
kind of.
I mean, there's good reasons that I've gotten into the fights that I did. It just wasn't like I got caught in the middle of something else.
Okay, so anytime you've ever had to exchange a physical altercation, we'll say that it was clearly like, okay, this is why this is happening.
Like one time, my coworkers dragged me to a club and I was on crutches, and you had to go downstairs to get out of the club, and like this guy was like, "Oh, I'm gonna push this girl on crutches down the stairs," and I was like, "You want to go, motherfucker?" Like, pretty much what that situation was.
Well, it's pretty justified if you like.
I would say that's justified.
Yeah, I mean, if your life's in danger and everything else, there's probably people have punched people over less things, so that's more than okay.
I mean, there's always reasons. It wasn't like I was just like, okay, I'm gonna go into this place and just fight someone. Like, there was always a reason for it, but I never got caught in the middle of somebody else's like aggression.
I love how she says it that way, and then we can assume that it was like, yeah, I had good reasons. I didn't like his face. I didn't like the way he looked at me. It's like, oh God, Michelle. But no, that's fine. I get that.
So as for me, I've punched a few kids, mainly because it had to do with other girls. Or this one was my sister. Like this guy, was supposedly the boyfriend and whatnot. Like, looked at my sister's ass, and I go, "What did you just do?" He goes, well, yeah, dude, nothing, man. I was like, I saw what you did. He goes, no, I really didn't. I was like, you're gonna play dumb with me? He goes, dude, I swear I didn't. I just decked him right in the stomach. Never had a problem again. He walked away, and that was about it. But I have a better story. So that was, and so those fights obviously didn't go long. So there was one time I was at a baseball game, and there was basically I was in the nosebleeds because I went with a group of high school friends and probably some church people, who knows. So we were supposed to be on good behavior. Well, me and my buddies decided we were going to shoot spit wads at people.
You asshole.
And ended up, because we're little kids not doing anything, starting a fight between the college drunk kids below us and the college frat boys behind us. So and there is this massive fight. They get kicked out of the game. Well, while the altercation is going on, me and my buddy who were doing this, like, we're gonna go to the opposite side of the park, and we will meet up with y'all after the game, because we knew we were going. Like, if they look at any type of recordings, we're screwed. So we go to the other side of the game, and we just stand and watch the rest of the. I think we was already in like the 7th or 8th inning, but yeah. So that was the kind of Breen-like experience, I guess, where almost a fight happened around me, but because of me, but I wasn't in it. So yeah.
So I have the unfortunate habit of being around fights when they occur, not because like I'm like necessarily involved either, but it's like, for example, one quick story when I was working in New York, and I was told not to leave the hospital that I was working at because I was in a really bad neighborhood, and I said, "Screw you guys! I'm going to go to lunch. I'm just going to go ahead and walk outside to lunch." I'm still walking around the building of the hospital. I turn the corner. I'm in the middle of a bum fight. And like it's like, and I'm like, oh no! And they have these two bums just beating on each other, and I'm caught in the middle, and like there's a woman across the street yelling, "Get his cigarettes!" And I'm like, oh Jesus, get me out of here! And so like, I mean, it was just stuff like that. I've had that, and I've gotten in a few scraps myself. Nothing too big, I just beat up a kid in high school, but he deserved it. So anyway, moving on. Speaking of beating up people, we're going to talk about people who beat up people professionally for a living, sort of, and that is superheroes. Superheroes is our topic. That's the Batman singing the X-Men theme song, of course. Everyone knows that. Classic.
Which was the theme of Brian and I going through Arkham Asylum.
It really was. Every time you jumped off a building, you had to make that sound.
Not better than Michelle playing Arkham Asylum. That was probably one of my favorite moments.
I remember Craig laughing so hard while I was playing that.
In the last 10 years of my life, there's been few things funnier than that.
What did she do?
What?
You were there, Brian.
I don't believe in stealth.
Arkham Asylum. And she'd just sit there, she'd see bad guys, and it basically was like her at the bar. She goes, "You," and then she'd just fucking charge over and start punching them in their turkey necks, basically, the entire time.
I remember her out in like the one main courtyard area, and there was like these like group of 4 guys like standing around and go like, "Man, I sure hope the Batman doesn't sneakily take us out from the side." And then down the street comes Michelle, like in the like underneath the street lamps, going just chasing them down. They're like, "Oh Jesus!"
The one that I always remember is when they're beating up on the Batmobile, and you have to go get them off the Batmobile. And she just sprints right over. There's 6 of them. There's all these different covers, things. You can get up to higher ground. You can fall down onto them. You can do so much stuff. Nope. Sprint straight towards them. Punch.
So speaking of Batman's one of the superheroes we're going to be talking about a lot today. And really, this is kind of a general discussion. And Craig has something prepared afterward. But to start off with, let's go ahead and kind of talk about our personal I'm going to call them superhero experiences, meaning like, are you a fan of superheroes, comics in general, or are you more of I watch it in the movies, or is it like, I don't care for those sort of things?
I can start with my secret origin if you want me to.
Go ahead.
So it's one of those things where kind of like Harry Potter to a point. I got into it a little bit later than what probably a lot of other people do that consider themselves like big comic book people. It was one of those things where I watched some of the cartoons as a kid, but Going back and like we've talked about before, I didn't watch a lot of TV growing up and whatnot. It wasn't until basically it was and my cousin is a huge Batman fan, like absolutely ridiculous huge Batman fan. And so I kind of always had this thing for Batman beforehand. When we were growing up, I kind of, sort of followed in his lead and whatnot. But it wasn't until basically like the Arkham Asylum game, like kind of brought me back into it. And so like I said, it wasn't until then. And then I started kind of going more whole hog into it, where I was really looking into different things. I was trying to find different comics to read and different stuff like that. But I never like completely went into where I was, buying tons of books and all this stuff. That was more when New 52, and I know this might piss off some people that listen. The New 52 is really what brought me back to reading the books. Growing up, I had books here and there. You'd see them at a store, or you see them somewhere, and I'd pick them up because it was cool. But for the most part, I didn't. But I started subscribing to the New 52s, to Batman, JLA, and stuff like that, and I started reading a whole lot more. Kind of right in the thing where all the comic book movies were starting to kind of pick up, right when, because what was Iron Man? Was that 2008, 2009?
2008.
8, I believe.
2008. So it was like 2007, I think, is when Arkham Asylum launched, I think. I could be wrong. It could have been 2008 as well. But it was right around there. And I remember being excited. I was like, oh my God, they're actually starting to do like Iron Man. They're starting to do all these comics that I knew about, and I knew some stuff. And obviously there's Marvel Ultimate Alliance, which is one of Brian and I's favorite co-op games of all time.
I love that game so much.
And I really wish they'd bring it to backwards compatibility. But, it was one of those things where I knew a ton about the Marvel Universe because of that. And then I did my own research. I never bought the books, but I'd go to Wikipedia and I'd read all this stuff on them and kind of read about like the summaries of storylines and stuff. But that was the main thing that really got me into it. And I just always had an affinity for Batman and kind of his lore, which I know is like a lot of the different types of, or the same kind of lore for everybody else. But that was kind of the start for me, where I really started getting into it, where I really started reading a lot and started watching a lot and all that stuff.
Michelle, would you like to go next?
Mine's pretty similar to Craig's. I remember as a kid, and we kind of went over this in the nostalgia podcast, I watched a lot of cartoons as a kid, so I don't really remember a lot of, plot details or anything, but pretty much any superhero cartoon that was on TV, I was watching. Even, people who had superpowers but aren't typical superheroes, like the Ninja Turtles, Rainbow Bright, all of that stuff. I watched all of it. And I've always wanted to read comics, but I find it a really overwhelming medium to get into because they've been around for so long and there's so much. I'm like, where do I start? So I haven't really read a lot of comics, but for me, really getting into it again was Iron Man is what started it, because I was just blown away by how much better Iron Man was as a movie compared to the Spider-Man and X-Men movies that had come out at that point. I thought they were good movies, but Iron Man just blew them out of the water. And then, in my opinion, the Marvel movies are just getting better and better and better. And then I started watching Flash and Arrow for DC TV shows. Woo-hoo. And I was like, these are amazing TV shows. So that's kind of my point. And I've done the same thing as Craig, where I've gone on Wikipedia to read people's backstories, because I can't go back and read 70 years of comics right now. So I'm kind of just looking into them a little bit, so I know the basics of them.
That's actually that out of that whole thing, I listened and I learned a lot about that from you. But the thing that I want to know most is, what is Rainbow Bright's superpowers? I'm sorry, I gotta know.
I don't remember. I'm just naming they do things that normal humans don't. I don't remember specifically what she did, to be honest with you.
Okay, I was just curious because I my brain was ready for superhero talk, and then when I heard the Rainbow Bright, it goes error. I don't know what this is. I needed to know. I was just curious what it was. So I was just
saying that I watched a lot of cartoons with characters that were
super powered.
Yeah,
yeah.
Then they just weren't Marvel or DC, I guess.
Gotcha. Burke?
So I'm probably the most boring out of this whole group as for superhero stuff. I mean, I grew up watching, I think, Batman and probably Spider-Man, whatever was on standard TV, of course. So that was my exposure. I never read comics. I probably I still to this day don't think I've ever read a comic book. Maybe I lied. I've read The Watchmen. That comic book, that is the only, and that's more of a graphic novel. I've never read a comic book cover to cover. So, that's just me. So superheroes literally were cartoons, and it was the only TV shows that were on growing up during the daytime. So I watched that. I've played Markham. I loved Marvel Ultimate Alliance. Played that a lot with Craig and Brian as well. Probably not quite as much.
My assumption is you didn't either.
Yeah, I know for a fact I didn't. How about that? So but like and today, like if a superhero movie comes out, half the time I'm like, yes, it's coming out. I'm going to see it because I'm a nerd. Like I just don't really care. I'm not a big movie person in the first place, but like I'll see them when they come out on video. But I do watch Flash. I've watched Daredevil. I've watched the Jessica Jones, Arrow. I've watched all the TV shows, which I have absolutely loved. Pretty much all of them, and that's been fantastic. And so that's kind of my superhero kind of experience. Nothing real fanboyish. Of course I love Batman. Who doesn't love Batman? Kind of thing. That's me.
Okay.
Kind of boring.
Well, see, and the thing is that I'm the opposite in as far as being kind of a diehard superhero guy. Like because like, well, I hate to say it because the thing is that I can't claim that because then people will go, well, have you read every single comic? Well, no, of course not. I used to read comics quite a bit, but I like the Archie Sonic comics more than I did. Like if I had the option, if I went to the comic book shop, I would choose I'd choose Sonic the Hedgehog over like a superhero comic because I had the cartoons for that. And for the cartoons, I watched Batman the animated series, of course, the X-Men cartoon, the Amazing Spider-Man with that terribly 90s wow, you know what I'm talking about? And Justice League Unlimited, any of that stuff. Like I was so into those cartoons. I watched every episode multiple times, and I was just steeped in it. And then as the internet became more and more available, I was able to be like, oh, I've never heard of Livewire. Let me look up who this person is on Wiki. What is their background? Oh, I remember them from the cartoon show. Well, that doesn't match up. If I had half the interest in I don't know, the medical field as I do with superheroes, I would have a doctorate 8 times over by now. I just absolutely loved it. I got really immersed in it, and I don't know how else to say it other than it's been great. This revolution that we've been having as far as movies are concerned I've experienced ups and downs with it. When the original X-Men movie came out, I was blown away because that was a series that I watched the cartoon and I loved. And then X-Men 2 came out, and the fact that that opening sequence with Nightcrawler alone, I was just my mind couldn't even take it. I'm like, well, this is it. We've reached the epitome. And then I was wrong, of course. And I don't know how else to put it, guys. I love them. I watch Smallville. I watch all the CW. It was WB, now CW shows. Anything superheroes, I'm in basically. But in addition to all that, I will say that you're talking about going to the movies and that sort of thing. The one scene that I was actually just having a discussion about with my dad today when I was at the ball game was, did you guys ever watch Superman Returns?
Yes.
Yeah. There's that the oh my gosh, I can't think of his name, but it's the one that in 2006 or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
5. Or
5. Okay.
5, 6, 7, 8. I don't know. Whatever. Somewhere in that range. Point is that when that movie came out, there was that scene, the opening scene when he returns to Earth, so to speak, and comes back, and he catches the plane and drops it in the baseball stadium and then flies off. To this day, that might be one of my ultimate superhero tingle moments that I've ever had in a movie, because I was like, oh my God, Superman's real and he's flying, and I believe that a man can fly. That movie was awful. After that, the movie fell apart. But that one scene, oh God, I love talking about superheroes. So I'm excited for today is what I'm getting at.
All right. Well, since you're doing that, I think we need to, just for the clarification, and what I'll call the you have to pick a side, even if it's your 51% over the 49%, you have to pick your 51 or higher. If you had to choose, which side would you go? DC or Marvel?
For me, DC.
I'll go DC because that's where Batman is.
If you're saying I absolutely have to pick a side and it's a 40 or 51-49 split, I would pick Marvel.
Okay. That's what I was, yeah. It's one of those ones, the 51-49, you have to put your 51% somewhere. So even if it's more than 51, but you have to at least put 51% on one side. Mine would be way over 51, and it'd be on the DC side as well. Basically because of Batman again, like what Burke said. Mainly that.
So,
but I want to kind of give my reasoning why. And for me, it's always been it's going to sound really stupid because like you've got Superman and all these other ones. The DC universe, as of late, the last 10 some odd years, has felt more real than Marvel. To me, it has, because it just felt like it was a little bit more. I guess not plausible. I don't want to say. I mean, I guess to a point, maybe plausible, but it just. I'll put it this way, and I'm not trying to take one side down to raise up the other one. I just don't know how else to say it. To me, like the Marvel Universe, at times, especially as of late, it feels like it's the same movie over and over again, and it's light, it's colorful, it's all this stuff, which I love. Like Flash is light and colorful, and that's fun and whatnot. But like for the most part, I feel like the DC ones are more a little bit, maybe realistic or plausible. I don't know, but it felt like all Marvel, except for the like Daredevil and Jessica Jones, they've all felt very lighthearted and colorful and stuff like that. And I don't always want that from my movie going experience.
You think it's because of your age?
Maybe it might be purely because of my age. And the funny thing is, I kind of want that more from my TV shows than I want from my movies. Like my movies, I want kind of like more of a dark and gritty and a serious look at it, because you go in there for somewhere between an hour and 45 minutes to way too long, 3 hours, Batman v Superman. And you get this kind of serious, it's a little darker. You're getting more, to me, like an emotional ride. I don't know why it's more emotional for those, but it just feels a little bit more emotional to it. Because it doesn't feel as just kind of like, oh, well, at the very end, it's going to be all hunky dory. Like you don't get that feeling throughout the entire movie. Where you're like, oh, this is going to end up, it's going to end up in some version of okay. You know what I mean? Everything's going to kind of end up working for the end, but it just felt like the most recent string of Marvel movies. It's kind of like, hey, we're going to introduce a couple characters, and a couple other characters are going to kind of leave, and everything's going to be split still, and you're still going to have to kind of not pick a side, but you kind of have to pick a side on which one, or I don't know. So
you're just kind of waiting for something to hit the fan, and you feel like it's more likely to do that in a DC movie than it is in the Marvel right now.
Sort of. It's going to sound stupid because I really did not like Batman v Superman, but the idea behind it to me is better with this. It's to where it's people have called it like joyless. And that makes more sense to me in a movie. I don't know why. Like TV, I'm going to go for this for like 24 hours throughout an entire season, 24 one hour episodes or whatever it is, 20 hours. I kind of want that lightheartedness throughout the whole time, because otherwise you're like, oh gosh, this is dragging on. Everybody's depressed and everything. I don't know why, but it felt like the movies make more sense that way. But then again, I've liked the lightheartedness that the DC shows have been showing, with Supergirl and Legends and Flash. They feel more lighthearted. Arrow, which is the other one, doesn't feel as lighthearted, which is probably why it's my least favorite out of the DC comic book shows right now. So I don't know. I didn't know if anybody else felt that way, or if those are the exact reasons why they like the other side, or where that was.
My reasoning at this point is just purely more exposure. So the cartoons I watched as a kid, I watched probably an equal split between, DC and Marvel. At the time, I don't even think I knew that they were like different universes, it was just all superhero cartoons. But then getting into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, there's been a lot of Marvel movies that have been causing me to, read up more on heroes. And, I've only gotten through, I'm not even completely caught up on Flash or Arrow yet, so I haven't gotten that far into those. And comparatively, like, they're really good TV shows and I've been really enjoying them. But when I look at the movies, which is what my main media is right now, you know, in the past, whatever, there's been just way more Marvel movies and I've liked them all. And even the DC movies that I watched, I didn't enjoy as much as I hoped I would. So that's like, if I had to pick a side, that's my reasoning.
Okay, and I get that. For me, it's tough because I say DC right away, and I will stick to that because but I take the movies out of it. I know that's probably like not, I shouldn't do that, but when it comes to judging Marvel versus DC, because it's been an ongoing discussion forever, probably since the dawn of the two series. But for me, I look at the characters inside of the series, and I got to give DC credit where credit's due on this one. It's that I like DC characters because when I was a kid, I would have said Marvel all day. Spider-Man, I like in the X-Men and all that sort of thing. I was yeah. But they're such flawed, and I don't like to use this term because it makes me sound like I'm hating on them, but self-centered characters, because it's always like, oh man, I have all these emotional problems and this and that, but it's like, no. When you grow up, you're Batman, or when you grow up, you're Superman, or when you grow up, you're Green Arrow, because DC are fully developed. We're the Titans, we're the gods, we're the dudes who are like, okay, I figured my life out, and yeah, I'll hit bumps along the way, but I know what my purpose is, and I know what I have to do in order to make that happen. And it's just about them being the badasses. Whereas in Marvel, all the characters still need to find themselves in some way, shape, or form. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that can make sense, and you could even make that make sense from like maybe a psychological standpoint too, where, you know, maybe for you, you feel like you've kind of got in your head, you've got worked out like where you're wanting to go in life and whatnot, and they kind of represent that. You know what I mean? Where others might be able to attach more to the Marvel things because they're still trying to find their way in their own life. So it's something, you're finding that parallel between it where, you know, in your example, the DC universe, most of the heroes kind of got their thing. They've got other things they have to worry about, but they've got the basics down in terms of they know who they are, and they're, you know, again, the big, you know, like the Justice League characters and stuff, most of them, they know exactly who they are and they know what they're trying to do. They have other things they have to worry about all the time. But like, it feels like with Marvel, there's a lot more, I don't want to say the words.
Emotional turmoil, I guess.
Like maybe not insecurities, but something along those lines where it's like they're trying to figure other things out about themselves the whole time. And
yeah,
so I could see that.
I mean, the X-Men was a whole like allegory for puberty. You know what I mean? Like that's like, we get that, and we get that the whole thing is that it's like, all right, these characters are meant to be like, okay, this is your transitional period, and you're gonna feel awkward and strange and whatever. But I'm like, okay, I did, like as a kid, yeah, I identified with that more. But now as an adult, I'm like, okay, I get that. Now I'm ready to put on this utility belt and go out and fight in Gotham. Like I'm ready for that. You know what I mean? I don't know. I guess that's why for me I'd fall on that side. Plus, I love the DC TV shows more than I do the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because the DC shows have like, oh my god, you have like 20 some episodes a season of just like, oh, I live in this universe. It's so connected, and every week they're talking with like little things here and there. It's like, oh, I drool. I love it.
What about you, Burke? Since you're kind of you're not a huge comic guy, do you have a reasoning for which one on which besides just Batman?
I don't know. No, not really. But like hearing y'all talk about X-Men brought up. Oh yeah, I used to watch the X-Men TV show all the time, and then I was like, oh yeah, that's Marvel. Here's my thing. I have to think of which characters in which universe every time. Like I'm like Spider-Man. That's in Marvel. Yes, I like Marvel. But I love Deadpool.
Deadpool. That's DC or that's Marvel, dude.
I know. I forgot how much I loved him. Like. I blame Craig for introducing him to me, because Craig has a little man crush on him too.
Sorry.
And then when the video game came out a few years ago,
God, that game was good.
It was so repetitive, but so good at the same time, and like I just fell instantly in love. And I think that movie, if that was all Marvel, I would be 100% Marvel. Period. But it's not. So, as I just chose DC because I think I watched more Batman cartoon and Superman cartoons growing up, and I loved the Batman Arkham Asylum and Arkham City and all those games. And I haven't seen Batman vs Superman, so I don't have any negative thoughts on that.
There you go. Well,
You're
you're not
lucky.
tainted by it, technically.
You're
There you
lucky.
go. That actually brings up kind of an interesting thing. Burke, this question might not be as applicable to you then, but just kind of a really quick rapid fire for Michelle and Craig and all that. Who is your favorite obscure person from, like, whether there be hero or villain from, like, the either universe, where you just say, like, you know what, I love the idea of this character, even though they're kind of the obscure one?
I actually have one. I don't know
Do
if it's
ya?
very obscure, but for me, it was Nightcrawler in X-Men.
That's
I
not
don't know if
obscure
that's
because he's my favorite
Fuck.
X-Men too, dude.
okay.
Yeah,
well,
Burke.
But like, okay, it was just I remember playing the arcade game
Yes!
every time I went to Fuddruckers. I'm like, I'm gonna be Nightcrawler. That was it.
Me too.
That was it. Just because I was like, I can zip around everywhere, and like when he was in the first or second movie, that was probably one of the only times I was like, oh my god, nostalgia is hitting me now because I forgot about all this shit, and I was like, oh my god, it's Nightcrawler. He's in the movie. He's so excited. Teleport. That was me in the movie.
He's the
Yeah.
best.
Yep. Okay. Sorry. I'm done.
No, that's a great. You know what? I'm okay with that because he's not first line X-Men.
Yeah.
Usually.
Yeah.
So yeah. Craig, would you like to go next?
This is tough because like most of the characters that I like are the mainstream people.
Same.
You know,
I don't
it's-
have enough exposure to enjoy to say that I love any obscure characters.
And it's just really tough because all the obscure characters are the most of the ones that I'm like, well, they're cool. And so I could probably come up with a list, but I don't think I'm going to be able to come up with anything right off the top of my head where, I really like the character. I mean, I really love the way they did the Man in Purple from Jessica Jones. That's about the only thing I can do with that, but that's just because I love the whole psychology of that entire show. So
Michelle, did you have one you said, or it was you were a little? Okay.
No, I don't, because I don't have enough exposure to know enough about the obscure characters to say that I love any of them. Like, all of my favorites are very famous characters.
See, it all week long. I've had one obscure character who keeps going, "Hey, remember that I exist," in my head ever since we were talking about superheroes, because he's a hero designed around the idea of wanting to be a hero, and that's Booster Gold. Do you guys know who he is?
No.
No.
Booster Gold is a guy from the DC universe. He is from the future, and he travels back in time because in the future he can't be a famous superhero because everyone else has already been a superhero and is too famous. Like he can't beat out the legend of Superman because it's just too legendary. So he goes back in time to our quote unquote current day to like fight alongside Superman and all that stuff to make himself his own legend, so that way he can get super rich and famous. And that's it. And that's all it is. Is that he?
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
he's kind of a douche, but that's what makes him funny. Is that he travels back in time. He's like, remember, kids, you were saved by Booster Gold. Like he had his own episode of Justice League Unlimited. It was awesome.
they're doing they're making him into something, right? In like either a TV show or a movie.
Booster?
Yeah, they're bringing Booster Gold. I think he was in something recently
Are you
too.
shitting me? Really?
He was in. I can't remember what it was. He was in something recently, and they're doing an adaptation of him. I don't know how much, but they're doing an
That's
adaptation.
cool. I'm down for that.
That's pretty cool. Okay, so I know before we go on to Craig's quiz, I want to ask everyone, what would be your one superpower you would have to have, but it can't be one of the mainstream ones, like flying or super strength?
What about super speed? Is that no? I'm kidding.
No, you can't be the Flash, Brian.
I would totally take super speed over anything else, though. Well,
All right, Brian. I want to hear you first this time.
Okay. Well, when it comes to powers that don't really exist, well, maybe they do, but like kind of offbeat, powers. This is something that I was talking to Craig about. Probably, Craig, how many years ago were we sitting there in the bar? At Bullfrogs there. How many years ago was that now?
That was between. Sheesh, it was about 5 or 6 years ago, roughly.
5 or 6 years ago. So 5 or 6 years ago, I invented a power. That I think I invented it. That's basically, instead of shape shifting, So you're not changing yourself. You can change other people. So in other words, like think of yourself as the world's greatest plastic surgeon without having to use plastic or surgery.
Such a selfish
Well,
asshole.
no, you can't
No,
change
no.
yourself. That's the thing, is that you can change other people. So
You're like, I'm gonna date this girl with the best personality, but make her hot.
no,
That's what you're
You know
thinking.
what?
That's what you're thinking.
You're awful. No, I was just going to charge for it and make a fortune.
That's my type of idea, Brian. Don't you start
But
stealing
here's the
mine.
thing,
You
here's
would
the thing.
use yours.
I would assume that this is a world, that this is the current world we live in, right?
Okay.
And so I'm assuming that's the case, and I'm assuming that like if I don't have like invulnerability or super speed or anything like that, it's really gonna like help people, like creating water, like or something like that. That already exists. It's pretty mainstream anyway. At least I can do something like that to where I'm like, all right, now I'm the world's greatest quote unquote surgeon, and I can do that, and it would help other people, Craig. To help burn victims or other people. And yes, sure, why not do the cosmetic thing, fix your nose, whatever. But I'm saying you could help people that need like cleft palate. Bam, you look great. Done. So you're welcome. Have next person. It's just nice.
$500.
It's a nice power, I think. And of course, as you said, Berkey, you can say, "Yeah, your personality's a 10." Hooray! No, just kidding. I'm kidding. It's awful. That is awful.
The one I did became mainstream when we were coming up with those, and I've talked to Brian about this before, and I think I've talked to Burke slightly about it. I picked one that was more of like the way I described it is you could social engineer anybody. Basically, when you talk to somebody, they would believe you. Like they'd straight up believe you with whatever you said. But that one's kind of been taken over with recent shows and stuff like that. So I won't do that because that's what it is now. There's two different ones that I would like, and it comes off the same thing. I would like to have, if I had to just pick one of them, it would be to never have to sleep. I would absolutely love not to have to sleep anymore. But if I could combine it slightly, it would be able to not sleep and have night vision at the same time. So if it got dark, I'd still be able to see, even if you kind of went with it like in D&D, you've got like a low light vision and a night vision, but when you're in night vision, you only see in black and white and stuff like that. I'd be able to do that. I'd be all right with that. But
that's cool.
If I could choose, like that would be my power set, would be kind of like a nighttime set where it would be, I didn't have to sleep ever. I could stay awake the whole time. I'd still have to like rest and whatnot. I couldn't just like sprint constantly and never get tired. It would be every once in a while I'd have to lay down for a couple hours or just kind of sit and relax for a couple hours, but I never needed the sleep to really kind of fully rejuvenate. And then, obviously since I'm up all night, I'd like to be able to see in the dark too.
That's pretty good. I mean, because you could learn.
Would you have the weakness of the light switching fast, or could your pupils dilate? It'd
be the same
quickly? I don't
thing.
know.
Like in my head, it'd be the same thing is if you were in complete darkness right now and then you flip the lights on, like it'd be really bright for a second. But as long as it was like an easy transition, my eyes would eventually just kind of dilate to what they needed to be.
Okay.
So it wouldn't be like no matter what light it was, I saw perfectly. So if you sat there and, turn the lights off on me, it wouldn't take me as long to, how it takes a long time for you to see at night to like start picking up. It'd be faster
40
than
minutes
that. But just
fully,
imagine, you turn the lights on and you have to wait for your eyes to kind of wake up from looking at.
Yeah, switching between cones
Yeah,
and
like
rods
it would be
and all
that
stuff,
same
yep.
type of speed.
Yep.
So it'd be like, maybe 30 seconds where I was kind of disoriented or something like that.
That's cool. All right, Daisy.
So I'll be honest with you, I've been so busy that I was like, shit, we have a podcast tonight and I didn't do this. So I don't know if this would be necessarily the ultimate power that I would want, but it was one of the only things I could think of that I was pretty sure either didn't exist or wasn't something that anybody's heard of. And that was like, I could take anything that's inorganic, and if I was holding it or whatever, I would know exactly who made it and how, but I wouldn't necessarily know why.
So you could break.
So, like,
break
if I
something
walked-
down.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I was going to say, can you give me an example?
So, I mean, it would just be like, okay, so it would be anything, if I grabbed a computer, I'd be like, okay, this person built this, I would see exactly how they did it, but I wouldn't know necessarily why they did it if it had like a special function.
Oh, so you wouldn't be able to get intention out of the object. Be like, oh, this
Right.
person made a hammer. Don't know what they were using
even,
it for.
like even like a building, like I could touch a building and I'd be like, okay, you know, these 10,000 people were involved in building this, and this is the materials they used and how they did it and stuff, but I wouldn't necessarily know why. I was thinking, the why part, I was kind of thinking of, you know, how superhero shows always have, you know, strange objects that come from nowhere. Like, I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, this came from 7 galaxies away, but I know exactly what it does. Like, I didn't want to cheat like that.
I
Good.
actually
I
I
like that.
like that one a
I like
lot
that.
because you could reverse engineer anything.
That's cool.
Like you could take a Xbox or something,
Pretty
like
much.
you just like touch it and you're just like, okay, so all these pieces go here, and that means that if I know I can dismantle it and add in this turbo processor, blast processing, and now it does this.
Yeah, and in some kind of investigation, like, I would know who was involved in doing it.
Ah, nice. I
Yeah,
like
That'd
that.
be cool.
Okay.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
All right, so mine is, I don't know, it's kind of similar to Michelle's, but mine would be almost like the ultimate hacking ability, but being able to use any electronic and be able to use that to access anything, fix anything that was wrong with the device, like make it, you know, perfect to connect with, you know, the internet or
So you're saying, like, you know, you have a pocket calculator from the dollar store, but you could still somehow use it to achieve your goal.
yeah, like I know everything about, you know, circuits and what, like I can basically like not even have to do it, but it can touch something that has some sort of a circuit board and be able to go, okay, boom, this is now connected to the internet. Boom, I'm using this thing as a, you know, supercomputer, and I can do anything I want with
Okay.
it.
So
I can go in and fix someone's, you know, like practical use today. I can fix someone's network with just this stupid calculator, and it wouldn't break. It would be 100% reliable kind of stuff.
okay. So did you ever watch Heroes? So
Yeah, that's
sort of-
kind
sort
where
of like Micah, but yours is a little bit.
yeah, sort of like
his had to
Micah.
be like connected to stuff, so he had to be able to get in. But yours would
Yeah.
be you could modify. I don't know if modify is the right word, but like you said, you know,
MacGyver.
get a TI-83, and you'd be able to somehow get it to connect to other things.
Yeah, and you know that comes with, I guess, some sort of knowledge as well. But yeah, that would be kind of mine because one, it would help my job a lot, and two, I think it would be absolutely awesome.
Burke walks
Like-
in the office, you know, there for 5 minutes, claps his hands, he's like, okay, I'm done, walks out.
You answered
yeah.
498 emails in 15 minutes.
Yeah, just stuff like that. Like I think that would just be totally
You
awesome.
have a cool nickname,
you know,
like the Technomancer.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. But yeah, like I would, you know, find out any information that I needed would just be, you know, a few clicks away or taps on the calculator screen.
I'm only
Like-
one tap away.
Yep.
Okay, since
All
we
right.
were going over all these, they're not necessarily fake superpowers, but we're trying to kind of create superpowers, things that are probably already in existence. I made a little quiz for you guys today.
Oh man, does this one have to deal with superheroes in some way, shape, or form?
Some way, shape,
I
or
knew
form.
it.
It
I'm
does.
actually just really
Just kidding,
hoping
it's about supervillains.
completely unrelated.
He's like, "What is my favorite pizza topping?" He's like, "Damn it!"
It's like the Gilderoy Lockhart quiz from the first day that when he was teaching.
Yeah.
Just completely just things about like, what's my favorite book? My favorite book.
Harry Potter.
Yeah, so what it is I decided to go through and find a set of, let's say, obscure, like you were saying, Brian, heroes and goofy superheroes or villains and different powers that they have, and paired them up with different other fake superheroes that I created and superpowers. And you guys are going to tell me if they are real or if I made them up.
I like quizzes like this. Yay.
So, wait, so there's always going to be one real one and one fake one in each
Nope.
question?
So basically, I'm going to go through and I'm going to say something, and then you guys are going to tell me if what I said was real or if I made it up.
Okay, so we're going one hero at a time.
Yes, one hero or power or whatever it is. I'll say one statement at a time, and you guys have to tell me. Burke, you're keeping score like always. So it's just going to be
Yes,
all
sir.
three of you get to. Oh no, this is going to be something else. Since Brian has a decent, intimate knowledge of the comic book universe already, he may have heard of a couple of these. I don't know. They're that obscure, but they could have been something where it's like, you know how Brian is. He'd be like, oh, well, they are on episode 46 of X-Men, and they did this and this and this, and they were on screen for 14 seconds, but they were mentioned, and I know who they are.
So you're telling me Brian gets 0.75
No.
point for each one he gets right?
Burke and Michelle, you have the opportunity, if you want, to team up and take him on by himself. Brian, you have no say in the matter. This is up to Burke and Michelle.
I actually want to win, Michelle. Let's go. Let's do
Okay,
it.
let's do it.
Wow!
Editing my columns, Burke. What should our name be? What should our superhero name be?
Burchell.
Burchell.
Bam! And then Brian's super villain name is
What about Merc though?
Mert.
Maburk.
Maburk with the mouth.
Maburk.
The Maburk with the mouth. That's
Madurk.
Madurk. Okay, so just like the one quiz I did before about jobs, I did research on them. I tried to find it, but I have as much information as I could find without taking 3 hours to fully investigate. So I'm going to read the one sentence or whatever amount of information I have. That's all you're going to get, and that's all you have to decide. Burke and Michelle, I'm going to have you guys can openly discuss first and tell me the answer, and then Brian's going to give the answer afterwards because I don't want Brian's answer influencing you guys, and I have a feeling Brian won't be as influenced by your guys' conversation.
Okay.
So we're both going to guess before you reveal an answer. It's not just shouting or
Yes,
something.
you both are going to guess. So
Okay.
you both could get points, you both could not get points. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
All right. Is this real or fake? Color Kid was a normal guy until he was struck by a beam of light from another dimension, which gave him the singular ability to change the color of any object at will.
I'm gonna go with no, not or fake.
Really?
I don't have no idea. I'm trusting your instincts though and going real.
My instinct was real, but I've never heard of this person, but my instinct was real.
All right, let's go real. We'll go real.
And just so I understand, Craig, the power. It's not the powers, or I'm sorry, the powers and the name of the person are both going to be like if those would both be real, or you're not doing like half right.
No,
half wrong,
I'm not.
Right?
I'm not doing half truths. I said,
Okay.
it's going to be the entire statement. And I apologize if any of them that I've made up end up being real things. You know, maybe I should be getting paid for this. But all the ones that I made up, you know, all the likenesses and stuff, like you see at the end of movies and stuff, any likeness is just purely coincidental, and I didn't mean it. So
I'm also going to say real, but I don't have a good reason for this one other than that I remember a lot of episodes of different shows where like the towns were like different colors, so maybe it's like the Color Kid did it. Like I don't know. I'm gonna say real though.
And you are both right. This was a DC
All right.
superhero. And
Wow.
the thing that I could find was while not a totally useless superpower, he once was able to change the color of a kryptonite cloud, which allowed Superboy and Supergirl to return to Earth.
Good for him.
Oh, look at him go! Apparently, the colors affect radiation.
Just the color? Yeah, I don't understand.
I don't ask. This is just what I'm doing, dude.
He didn't do the 3 hours of research, guys. This was
I didn't research the science behind why these two flying people could change the color of a cloud and they were able to get through.
No, I wanted to know on a molecule by molecule basis why this didn't
All right,
work.
I've got another one here. The Sensational Glacier is the hero's name. His parents were freezing to death in a snowstorm, and he was granted the power of the ice gods, and so he could control ice. He was not able to save them, but in accepting the powers to try, he now has to do the ice gods' bidding. He resents them for not giving his power soon enough to save his parents, and so he's secretly trying to find a way to avenge his parents without drawing notice from the ice gods.
Fake.
so much longer of a story.
Fake.
Fake.
Okay.
I'm also saying fake, but only because you like ice powers, and this was so too detailed.
Yeah, that was me.
I did make that mistake because that was fake.
Yeah.
All right. Look at that.
I do like the ice gods, and I was like,
The
yeah,
backstory was
that's
good.
pretty good. Though.
I kept having the picture of the Avatar, the Airbender, in the Ice Kingdom during that whole story.
Oh God, yeah.
That was
Okay, here's the next one. This one is Mr. Midnight. He has a power that stops all watches and clocks within hearing distance. He doesn't stop time, he just stops the clocks.
I've seen characters like this, but the name isn't necessarily ringing a bell. So my instinct is real because I have seen that kind of thing.
all right. I'll agree.
I got to be honest with you. This one, Like you've so far, like the one that was real, like the Color Kid, I had not heard of. I have not heard of this one either. But the power is like it's not even like Clock King. Clock King doesn't have the power to do everything with watches, but he's still like it's a cool character. This one's just lame. I'm gonna say fake.
So you're saying that if this was my idea, it was lame.
I'm saying
Yes.
yeah, basically.
Yes, that's what
Well,
he's
that's
saying.
good because it was not my idea, and this is a hero in the actual universe. I don't know which universe, unfortunately. I didn't find that information, but this was a hero that was stated as one of the most
Okay.
useless heroes ever.
Is that just analog clocks, or is
No
there
idea.
all digital
That's
clocks?
the information that I
That's a
have.
stupid power.
Okay.
Like
You're gonna be late
I mean-
always.
yeah,
Like,
really.
I'm not gonna lie.
Your commute's now way worse. It's like
I'm not gonna lie, like that dude is like my worst nightmare because I am really compulsive about time. So that dude could really fuck up my life.
you see, it's like talking about Michelle's Rogues Gallery. It's like, oh no, Mr. Midnight.
They're all of her rogues gallery is just a bunch of people that make things like minor inconveniences.
I'm the pothole. It's like I'm Mr. Midnight.
Ready for the next one?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. This is a villain named I, spelled E-Y-E, Scream. He has the unique power of melting himself into any flavor of liquid ice cream, which he uses for quick getaways.
I really want that to be true.
I do too, but
I'm gonna go fake. You, yes, no, Michelle.
I'm so torn right now. Like, I want it to be real, and I don't think Craig's gonna just go in an alternating pattern, so, like, I want to say real.
All right, we have to come to a decision. I'm actually gonna stick to my guns, and I'm gonna say fake this time.
I'll agree with you.
All right,
I
okay.
don't want to, but I will.
I scream at like if he has some sort of optic blast, I would agree with you. But if he melts into ice cream, then I'm gonna say false because I gotta hope he's not real.
This villain is real.
What?
Oh, damn it! I knew I
I've
should.
never heard of
Damn
ice cream.
it. Ice cream. Sorry, Michelle.
It's fine.
Okay. You guys ready for the next one?
Wow.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. This one is called Fat Man the Human Flying Saucer, who is able to transform into a flying saucer, allowing him to fly faster than sound, and he also deflects bullets.
Fake. Fake.
I'm gonna say fake.
I'm gonna say real.
Okay.
This hero is real.
Yeah!
Damn it!
Oh,
Oh,
no!
it's tied again. Man.
Actually,
Wow.
okay. Is he? What is he from?
I'm not sure.
Because I feel like I don't know. The weird thing is that like when you said the name and like the turning into a saucer thing, it rung a bell, and that's the scary part. I was like, I know this.
Wow.
Where do I know this from?
Doing quick research here. I'm going to see if I can find it. It is a fictional character made in the 60s, it looks like.
Wow.
It's just a very
While
basic
everyone was on
overview.
drugs.
Very
Yeah.
basic overview.
Maybe
Okay.
he might have been on like one of those maybe like Watch Mojo lists of like worst superheroes ever. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
who knows? Okay, you guys ready for the next one?
Yes.
Yep.
The hero is Dayman, the fighter of Nightman. The Nightman can deliver manliness and power, removing innocence and removing the lack of manliness. Dayman eventually becomes Nightman's natural nemesis. They're both adept at singing and stage performance.
What the fuck?
What the fuck?
Fake. I'm saying fake.
All right, let's go with fake.
I'm gonna go real because it sounds like the Always Sunny in Philadelphia joke.
I'm going to give you both points because it's fake and it's from Sunny. From Sunny.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna say,
Okay.
I'm like, they had the character, yeah.
Yeah, that is fake. So I'll end up both giving you points because Brian actually called what exactly it was from. So it's technically real in that sense, but it's not an actual
That's
comic book.
right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
and I knew
okay.
that was. I knew that
And
was
I have
familiar.
no idea if any of you guys watched
Dayman!
Sunny. So
Yeah, I have.
I just watched the first
See,
season
and
last
that's
week, so
The sad
I
part.
remember the song.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I knew that was familiar, but that's why I wanted to say real.
Well, that's why I said real. I was like, it's from Always Sunny, and I'm like, I think that counts because he's technically considered as some sort of okay, whatever. As I don't care, we're tied. That's all good.
yeah, so I just thought
It's
that was
fine.
so
It's
funny.
fine.
I had to include it. I was like, okay, that's funny. And I haven't actually watched Sunny. So okay, the next one. Arm Fall Off Boy. He has the ability to detach his limbs and use them as blunt force weapons.
Wow.
This is gonna sound really dumb, but I actually am pretty sure this is real.
Real it is.
Oh god, this is so awful. I mean, this is so awful because like here's the problem is that like my instinct is to go false, but then Michelle's like, I think it's real. You know what? I gotta go false, but I will say this, okay? If he is real, then he needs to upgrade to man because it takes a real man to take your arms off and beat someone, not a boy. Okay.
This
I'm saying
hero
false.
is real.
Fudge!
Nice.
So, this is a DC hero. He's widely considered to be one of the most ridiculous characters ever created. And he is, I guess, not a hero, he's a villain, but the Legion of Doom rejects him almost immediately because he starts showing off his power and his entire body fell apart during the test.
Wow.
That's beautiful.
That's why he's still boy, Brian.
I guess
he
that's
wasn't
okay,
he wasn't
yeah.
very successful from what I
He
can
didn't
tell.
pass his learner's permit of evil.
Okay. Next one. Rainbow Girl can control emotional color. It allows her to tap into certain colors for certain powers, like red for anger. She can surround herself with a rainbow-resembling pheromone field, which makes her irresistible to everybody. Unfortunately, Rainbow Girl's powers can also cause unpredictable mood swings.
I'm gonna go with fake.
That's rough because it sounds so fake, but at the same time, like, it's so stereotypical in so many ways. Like, I can totally see somebody writing it like that too. Fake.
See, I'm gonna say fake because it sounds like the powers of Super Princess Peach from that horrible DS game.
That game was fantastic.
Excuse me, the platforming was good, but like there was a lot of like awful innuendos in that game that I was like, I felt like I was like, this feels wrong.
Rainbow Girl is a real DC hero.
What?
Jeez.
Yes. First appeared in Adventure Comics 309 in 1963. She was also rejected by the Legion of Doom. There's a trend here, guys. A lot of people are getting rejected from there. All right. Next one. Buck Farmer. A superb farmer that only realized his gift when he was giving an old friend a tour of his farm, and his crops started to grow abnormally fast right in front of their eyes.
I'm sorry, what was his name?
Buck Farmer.
Buck Farmer. I'm gonna go real on this one, but she goes fake, so we'll go fake.
No,
All right.
no, I don't know what to pick. It's so stupid.
Buck Farmer. I'm thinking Buck McNeely.
I really want to say fake.
All right, fake it is.
Are you sure you don't want to go real?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Are you really sure? Because Burke said real.
I'm really sure.
Okay, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go fake because I don't think that's. I mean, it sounds like a very believable power as far as like ability to grow crops, but at the same time, the fact that his name is Buck Farmer, like I gotta hope that's not it.
Buck Farmer is a real Detroit Tigers pitcher.
Wow.
Are you kidding
No,
me?
did you hear the whole thing? Buck Farmer is a real
Yes.
Detroit Tigers pitcher.
Oh, thank God. Okay, good.
And the power is completely made up. The name Buck Farmer was just sticking in my head today. And I was like, I have
Wow.
to add that to the quiz.
Oh, wow.
All right. The next one. Meat Shadow. A man from death with the ability to control the dead and rotting meat, but he can also manipulate and control shadows, even travel between them.
Those are two totally random powers.
Yeah, that's too much for one person. That's cheating.
So fake?
Well, I mean,
Dear Lord.
there are other characters that I feel like have too many superpowers too, so I can see it happening.
So you're leaning towards real.
I am.
All right, let's go with real.
Man, I was hoping you'd go fake.
His name is dumb as fuck, though.
I'm going to go real as well.
This hero sprang from my head.
Oh, no way.
Oh, wow.
My whole idea behind it was just the idea of him controlling like dead people by moving their meat. And
Yep.
so like the whole idea was he was, from death. So he's very like a shadowy figure, kind of necromancer type feel to him where he's controlling people and he can kind of move around the shadows and kind
Did you
of sneak
just-
up on people.
Did you just rip off Reaper from Overwatch?
Mm,
Death
I guess
comes and then,
I guess sort of, but it was more
No,
of
I'm
like
kidding, I'm
I
kidding.
was trying to think of a death character like
Yeah,
in my head. I was
yeah.
like, I'm going to come up with somebody with death because the first thing that came to my mind was controlling corpses, not like drawing them up and having them live by themselves. He can just control them and move around. So you'd see like a dead person walking towards you, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, what would a dead person do? They'd be dark and they'd be able to hide well, and so I just thought the shadows thing too. So maybe Reaper did get in there. I don't know. Okay, next one. Anarchist, aka Tyke Alakar, can sweat acid, which allowed him to generate and project, electrochemical energy into his enemies.
I'm gonna go with real.
Same. The name doesn't make any sense for that power, but I will also go with real.
I mean, Anarchy is already a name of a DC character that, and as far as I know, he didn't have that ability. So I'm gonna say false, in hopes that that's the case.
Tyke Alakar, Anarchist, is a real hero.
Yes.
Yes.
Is he from DC? Or I'm saying Marvel. I mean, is that why?
I'm trying to look and I can't find anything on it right now.
Because
Nope, DC.
he is DC.
Oh no,
There's-
that's Anarchy. Sorry, it scrolled up to Anarchy. That's my
Oh,
fault.
Okay.
And the last one. What's the score, Burke?
Madurk's winning 7-5.
Okay, so this is the last one. Does anybody want to do a wagering system to make Brian a little bit more pushed to get this right?
No.
Okay, they said no, so you're screwed, Brian.
Oh, I'll risk all
I just
5 of my
wanna win.
points. You kidding me?
Zeitgeist produces acid in his vomit, and he can projectile throw up anywhere he wants to hit them with this acid.
Fake.
I mean, it doesn't really matter because we're not wagering, so I'll go with fake.
All right.
I'm also gonna go fake.
Zeitgeist is a real Marvel
Wow, I
superhero
should have just gone with it just
A
to be
member
different at this point.
of the X-Force.
Really?
Yes.
He's part of the X-Force?
Wow.
Yes, he could spew acidic
Interesting.
vomit, and he had to wear protective mouthpiece in his costume to make sure he didn't get hurt by it.
Wow.
And although his acid could burn through thick steel, he had to worry about accidentally throwing up on someone, like he did the one time he was vomiting when he vomited during a makeout session and completely burned this girl's face off.
What?
Ugh.
What?
Wow.
I'm just
Wow.
what?
So with all of that, guess what? Burke wins.
Oh no!
Yeah!
Curses, drat!
We did win. Yay.
This was a hard. I'll give it to you. This was a very,
This
very
is-
good but difficult quiz.
The only one that I thought you might know, like right off the top of my head, Brian, was either Arm Fall Off Boy, because I knew about him beforehand. And the other one that I didn't know if people were going to pick up on was the whole Dayman, Nightman thing from It's Always Sunny.
But other than that, when you're going through them and you were listing them off, I'm like, yeah, I know obscure. I don't know obscure.
Oh, these were
Yes.
very, very obscure people.
Oh yeah,
I was
these
looking
are-
for the most obscure. And so when you said that, I was like, I can't say any of these names because when we were talking about earlier, I was like, I can't say any of these names because they show up a little bit later in the podcast.
See, like, and like the entire time, I kept thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, he's gonna do like Etrigan, or he's gonna do Plastic Man, or like I'm thinking like that type of obscure heroes, where you're like, okay, they're not exactly the headliners. They might appear on like one special of something of a show, you know what I mean? But they like would never appear like as part of as a standalone, and that's what I was thinking. And I had no idea Arm Fall Off Boy was even an option.
I don't know where I had heard that from, but I had heard of Arm Fall Off Boy before.
That's an awful thing. I mean, did you know this is true though? I just looked him up. That the quote from Lex Luthor when he rejected him from the Legion of Doom.
No.
You just got dunked on.